Absolutely.
Good Monday morning.
It's better that way.
We're just waiting until the room is cleared, and then we'll start. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, welcome to the Toronto International Film Festival press conference for the film W.E. It's my pleasure to introduce the panel for today's press conference. Starting on the far end, we have Abel Korzeniowski. Did I get that correct?
Abel Korzeniowski.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
He is last heard at TIFF with the soundtrack and the score for A Single Man. He's a Golden Globe nominee, and you have a new score coming for the film Metropolis.
Thank you
Which
very
I
much.
can't wait to hear. Sitting next to him is Andrea Riseborough. In 2010, she appeared in 2 TIFF films, Made in Dagenham and an adaptation of Never Let Me Go. She appears in Rowan Joffe's new film adaptation of Brighton Rock and will soon be seen alongside Michael Sheen in Resistance, an adaptation of an Owen Shears novel. In W.E., she plays Wallace Simpson. Sitting next to her is one of the most famous people in the world. Madonna is a music icon whose first hit single hit the charts in 1983. She's a Golden Globe winning actress, an author whose book, The English Rose, debuted at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list and was the New York Times children's #1 bestseller for 7 weeks. She's a movie producer, and she's the director of 2 films, Filth and Wisdom, and the movie that we're here to discuss today, W.E. And sitting directly next to me is Abby Cornish. She's well known for a number of film and television roles, particularly her award-winning lead performance in Somersault and for her role as Fanny Braun in Bright Star and her appearance in Sweet Pea, or as Sweet Pea, in Sucker Punch. In W.E., she plays Wally Winthrop. Please help me welcome everyone to the stage. Madonna, I'd like to start with you, if I may. This is an idea that you had before Filth and Wisdom, but it's been stewing and marinating for a little while. Can you tell us why it took this long for you to feel ready to make W.E.?
Well, this film is a much more complicated story. Two different eras, 2 different time periods, much more complex, and I felt like I needed to tackle something much simpler and really understand the technical aspects of filmmaking before I took it underhand.
Yes. Yeah. And what was it about, where did the idea of the duality of the story come from?
Well, I was always fascinated with the story of Wallace Simpson and King Edward VIII's decision to abdicate the throne for the woman he loved, and but I wanted to investigate that story and his reasons, and try to understand what it was about this woman that would lead this man to make such a big sacrifice. But I was never interested in making a straightforward biopic. So I created the modern-day story and the modern-day character of Wally Winthrop so that I could have a point of view in which to tell this story. Because I think in the end, truth is subjective, and we can all read the same history book and have a different point of view and get something different from it. So it was important for me to not present the story and say, this is the one and only story, but rather to say, this is the story that moved me and inspired me. So that's how the 2 love stories were created.
Right. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to the members of the press, and just limit your questions, please, to 1 question at a time, and I'll get to as many of you as I can. I'll start right here. And she'll bring you a microphone. Thank you.
Hello, Juan Carlos Garcia from Mexico City for Mrs. Madonna. Do you feel more pressure working on music and film? And how does it feel to be like the boss? Is easy to be the boss, or is it hard being the boss working as a director or producer?
That's 3 questions.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I didn't understand what you just asked.
I think, well, I can paraphrase, and okay. His words, not mine. What's it like being the boss on a film set is essentially what he's asking.
Well, I didn't think of myself as the boss. I thought of myself as the storyteller. the person that was there to collaborate with a group of very talented people who were going to help me tell my story. So I hope that answers your question.
All right. Go right here.
Hi there, I'm Maury Sherman with the Roz and Mocha Show on KISS 92.5. I want to say that I absolutely loved this movie. I thought it was kind of like a Chanel fairy tale. And I wanted to find out from you, Madonna. Bye, hi, the way. Hello. Did you notice that in the movie that all the women kind of looked like you? And is it just me that every beautiful woman looks like you, or was that your plan?
That was 2 questions again, Maury. Thank you.
Cheaters,
on,
cheaters,
Richard.
cheaters. Really, I never thought anyone looked like me. First of all, they're all brunettes. So let's just
You've
start right
gone
there.
through a few hair changes.
I'm not a brunette. I'm not. I swear I'm not.
We're going to move on there. Yeah, I'll go right to the back there. Yeah, go ahead. Yep, you with your hand up, please.
Morning, this is Linda Che from Fairchild TV of Toronto. Welcome to Toronto. This movie is about love and courage. Madonna, is this the message for you to tell all the women in this whole world? Thank you.
I do think it's about love and having the courage to make difficult choices, which we all have to, men and women. But I think the message of the film is to realize that in the end, happiness lies in your own hand, and that we are, in fact, in charge of our destiny. And even though we're dealt a hand of cards, from the day we're born, we can change our destiny. Yes.
I'd like to open that up actually to all the cast members as well and see what you feel the message of the film is.
I feel like that definitely was a really big message in the film. There was, originally a line from Wallace Simpson that my character Wally references: is our fate in the stars, or does it lie within ourselves? And I think that is a big question in the film. I mean, obviously there are many things explored: the idea of love, the idea of motherhood, but also this idea of fate. And because you have that parallel, you have the younger sort of, with the life, Wally with her life ahead of her, and then you have Wallace Simpson, who Madonna's referred to as a spirit guide, and that relationship allows them both to, sort of process and move forward.
And for you, Andrea?
I think it's hard to objectify a film once you've been in it, being a tool, as it were, because you are, not in a derogatory sense, but you are. We were Madonna's tools. And we looked to her for ultimate control because, in terms of collaboration, because she orchestrated the landscape of the piece, and that was very important. But my relationship with the film and what it meant to me through the eyes of my character, essentially, were all sorts of different things to do with love, passion, bravery, tenacity, motherhood, a sense of spirit, knowing oneself, and that feeling of emptiness at the end of a soulless dinner party.
How about your thoughts?
I think it's also about obsession and how it can be a driving force behind what we do. And sometimes we can look at obsession as something bad, obviously, but many times this is what we really want, and when we fight it, it just doesn't end well. And these both characters were a different part of this story, and the obsession with love with a person, it's something absolutely essential to our being, and in this sense, it's something very beautiful.
Was that the trigger for you, that the idea of obsession, to come up with this haunting score that you've written for the film?
Well, yes. In a certain sense, Madonna told me not try to be talented, which I try to fight very much. But the idea was not to be talented.
No, I said don't overthink it.
No,
I always want you to be talented.
Well, this was the explanation, not to make everything overcomplicated and go more with gut feeling, with emotion, and make it really pure.
That's gut feeling, not God feeling, just in case you...
I'm going to go to this blonde lady right here. Yep, go ahead.
Tina Christensen Børsen, Denmark. Madonna, this question is for you. I heard that from cast members that you would bring up your guitar and have sing-alongs on set. Is that true? And was that a creative trick to inspire the actors, or what was that about? Was it for fun?
Who said we did this? Oh yeah, we did have sing-alongs, but it wasn't a trick. It was a way to pass time. You know, when it was pouring down rain and you were shooting outside and you were stuck inside some gray, dirty shack waiting for the sun to come out. What can you do but make up a song?
What songs would you sing? Would you make up songs or would you sing?
Well, let's see. We're making a movie, isn't it groovy? Welcome to my house. That was one of them.
We had sing-alongs in the studio while mixing as well.
Yeah,
we did that too.
You were jumping on the couch.
I don't remember that.
Shh. Go ahead, right back here. Yep. You, sir? Yep. Go ahead. Right there. The hand. Yeah.
Mila Kanev, Mix TV, Russian-Canadian Broadcasting. Question from Madonna. Why the security guard was not Latin and why he was Russian, but why he was played by Latin American? And what was your just rationale to put Russian intellectual as a security guard?
Well, funnily enough, he originally was Latin, and then I changed him to Russian because I wanted Eugene Hutsovina to play the part of the security guard. He was in my film Filth and Wisdom. And I do happen to know a fair share of Russian intellectuals that I'm extremely charmed by. So then he became Russian, and then Eugene decided to go on tour instead of being in my movie. So I ended up with a Latin playing a Russian. Go figure.
Go ahead. Yep.
Hello, bonjour. Mathieu Chantelois from Cineplex Magazine, Canada. The question that everybody had in mind is, since Venice, Madonna, what is your favorite flower? But I'm not going to ask you this question. I'm going to ask you, I know that not 2 days of shootings are the same, but did you have any rituals? And maybe this is a question that the others can answer as well. Things that you do specifically as a director when you arrive in the morning or on lunch, any kind of specific rituals on the set?
One of my rituals, one of the most important rituals for me was to help finish dressing the actors or the actresses. I loved putting the finishing touches on them and feeling a connection with them before we began the day of shooting. So putting on their necklaces and their bracelets and fine-tuning their hair and clothes and kind of finding an excuse to touch them, basically. It was my ritual, but I can't speak for Andrea or Abby, so.
Well, it was very important because we had a sense of connection before we began. And for me, playing Wallace Simpson, some of the jewellery that we actually used was hers, in a sense. It was all real. but some of it was hers, and it was truly evocative. And so to share that moment it was like she was quietly sitting with us.
And did the costumes enhance your performance, or when you slip into those clothes, did they help bring out the character for you?
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely something that felt different about being in those clothes. Wally had a really good wardrobe, actually. And, there was something about always wearing the heels and having the handbag and things being fitted, and particularly around the waist, that makes you carry yourself differently. And Madonna also had us training when we were making the film with her trainers, and so that helped as well, just to sort of be, physically within our own bodies, I think.
So many hands right here. Yeah, go ahead, Jane Stevenson. Yep.
Hello, everyone. Madonna, can I ask about the use of the Sex Pistols song in that scene? Why that song, and does Johnny Rotten know?
Why that scene, and what was the question about Johnny Rotten?
Does he know?
Of course he knows. I had to pay him. Because I thought that King